Hello everyone, my name is Xiaoye, and I'm 21 years old. On the surface, I look just like any other young person, but deep inside, I carry a terrible secret that has tormented me all these years. I remember when I was 7 or 8, I stayed at my grandparents' house one time. That night, while Grandma wasn't home, Grandpa did that kind of thing to me. I had no idea what was happening then. I just felt terrified, trembling all over. Grandpa threatened me, saying I mustn't tell anyone, or he'd break my legs. After that, I became like a different person, living in constant fear, terrified someone would discover my secret. It wasn't until middle school that I gradually grasped how horrific what Grandpa had done to me truly was. I started having nightmares, often waking in the middle of the night drenched in cold sweat. 2 or 3 times a month, memories of that night would suddenly flood back, plunging me into a state of bone-chilling terror. I began to loathe anything related to sex, developing an intense fear of marriage and childbirth. To be precise, I dreaded any physical intimacy because it reminded me of what my grandfather had done to me. In high school, I tried dating a few times, but whenever a boy tried to kiss or hug me, I'd tremble uncontrollably and sometimes burst into tears. The boys thought I was strange and gradually stopped paying attention to me. I felt I might never have a normal relationship or get married, and it broke my heart. When I was 19, something happened. One day, my mom accidentally saw my phone chat history and discovered my secret. She told my dad, and I thought they would help me, but they did nothing. My dad said family secrets shouldn't be aired publicly, so we should pretend nothing happened. My mom cried for days, but she didn't dare tell my grandparents either. I felt utterly disappointed, as if the whole world had abandoned me. Later, when I went to college, I met my current boyfriend, Xiaoming. He's an exceptionally gentle person who always listens to me patiently. One day, I mustered the courage to tell him my secret. I thought he might reject me, but instead, he held me and cried. He said he'd always be there for me, helping me through the tough times. With Xiaoming's support, my condition improved, and those terrifying memories started appearing less frequently. Still, certain things trigger intense distress. Seeing news reports about sexual assault cases, or spotting an elderly man who resembles my grandfather on the street, makes me tremble uncontrollably, overcome by fear. Those horrifying memories play like a movie in my mind, and I can't control it. Sometimes I wish I could erase that memory entirely, but I know it's impossible. To be honest, my grandmother wasn't exactly a saint either. I remember when I was 9, she woke up one morning to find my grandfather lying on top of me, kissing me. I thought she'd rescue me, but instead she made me kneel in the living room, saying I'd dishonored our ancestors. I was so terrified I started wailing, completely confused about what I'd done wrong. Looking back now, my hatred for both grandparents is equally intense. Sometimes I even wish they'd just die already, so I'd never have to see them again. The thought of them attending my wedding someday makes me feel utterly sick. I have no idea how I'd face them then. Sometimes I wonder if I should just skip marriage altogether. At least I wouldn't have to endure that agony. Over the years, I've worked hard to become a better person. I studied diligently and got into a good university. I've tried making new friends, though I still feel anxious about getting close to people because I know human connections matter to me. I've started following topics about child protection and sexual abuse, hoping one day I can help others like me. Sometimes I wonder if my life would be different if someone had stood up to protect me back then. If my parents had been more supportive and understanding, could I have emerged from the shadows sooner? But these what-ifs are pointless. I must face reality and learn to coexist with this experience. Now, though I still have nightmares and feel afraid, I'm slowly growing stronger. My boyfriend has given me immense courage and strength, helping me believe that love isn't always terrifying. I'm also learning to accept myself and embrace this imperfect life. I know complete healing might take a long time, perhaps even a lifetime. But I no longer feel hopeless about the future as I once did. I'm considering seeing a therapist. Though I know revisiting those memories will be painful, it might be the necessary path to rebirth. Writing these words serves as both an outlet and a form of self-healing for me. By sharing my story, I hope to raise awareness about child sexual abuse and offer strength and hope to others who have endured similar experiences. We are not fighting alone. We deserve love and a life filled with beauty. Though that horrific experience will never fade, I am learning to coexist with it and striving to create my own happiness. This is a long journey of healing, and I have already embarked upon it. Globally, approximately 12% of girls, roughly 1 in 9, experience sexual assault or abuse before turning 18. For boys, the rate is about 5%, roughly 1 in 20. In most cases, the perpetrators are acquaintances, family members, teachers, neighbors, etc. Over 90% of cases go unreported, especially in regions like Asia and Africa. Boundaries and recognition of child sexual abuse. 5 things parents should know. In counseling sessions, we often hear stories like this. I think someone touched me when I was little, but I didn't understand back then. Lately, she's afraid to take baths and won't let me get close. Behind these seemingly ordinary reactions may lie pain children cannot articulate. Sexual abuse is not merely being forced into sexual acts. In a child's world, much harm often begins with ambiguity and silence. Sexual abuse is more than just having sex. When an adult touches, exposes, manipulates, or violates a child's physical and psychological boundaries with sexual intent, it constitutes sexual abuse. Even if it involves touching or fondling a child's private parts, coaxing a child to touch another person's body, exposing a child to pornographic content, using excuses like it's a game or I like you to violate a child, coaxing a child into nude chats, or sending photos online. These actions are not jokes or teaching moments, but actual sexual abuse. Many children don't realize they've been abused. In counseling, many adults only come to understand later in life. That incident was sexual abuse. At the time, children may feel fear, shame, or even attachment, as the perpetrator is often someone familiar, a relative, neighbor, teacher, or even a family member. They might say, "This is our secret, you're special," or "Don't tell anyone." So children hide their fear inside, protecting themselves through silence. This belated understanding is not an illusion, but a form of post-traumatic awakening. Children may be crying for help through their behavior. A child who has been sexually abused may not say, "I was hurt," but their body and actions will speak for them, suddenly becoming emotionally sensitive, irritable, or fearful, showing extreme resistance to physical contact, experiencing nightmares, bedwetting, or regression in behavior, declining grades and difficulty concentrating, abnormal sensitivity to sexual topics, or mimicking adult behavior. These are the child's warning signs. When we notice these changes, what's needed most is not interrogation, but gentle closeness. Parents must teach children body boundaries. Sex education isn't about discussing sex itself, but about boundaries and respect. We can explain to children, there are private parts on your body that others cannot touch without permission. If someone makes you feel uncomfortable, you can say no loudly. No matter who it is, if someone does something that scares or confuses you, tell your parents. You will never be blamed for telling the truth. Education is not about scaring children, but empowering them to protect themselves. What parents should do when suspecting sexual abuse. 1. Stay calm and avoid questioning. Children fear being disbelieved most. Accept their feelings first, then seek understanding. 2. Immediately take the child for a medical examination and report it to the police. Medical and legal evidence are crucial. 3. Seek professional psychological counseling. Psychological trauma requires time and support to heal. 4. Protect privacy. Do not share the child's experience to avoid secondary harm. Sexual assault is never the child's fault. True protection isn't just telling them, "Don't go with strangers," but letting them know, "Your body belongs to you." You can speak up about anything that makes you feel uncomfortable. Why do many minors remain silent after sexual abuse? In social news reports or psychological counseling cases, we often encounter such scenarios. Some children remain silent for years after being sexually abused, unable to confide even in their most trusted parents. Others only realize as adults that certain thing they experienced in childhood was actually sexual abuse. These phenomena are not coincidental, but manifestations of psychological defense mechanisms against trauma. Shame, the deepest shackle for children. One of the most devastating psychological impacts of sexual assault is profound shame. After being violated, children often don't understand what happened, only knowing it was something unmentionable, frightening, and disgusting. If the perpetrator is an acquaintance, relative, teacher, neighbor, they often use threats, deception, or coaxing to silence the child. If you tell anyone, people will laugh at you. If you say anything, your parents will be angry and won't want you anymore. These words wield immense psychological control. Driven by attachment to their family and fear of losing love, the child chooses silence. Over time, shame internalizes into self-blame. Did I do something wrong to make this happen? Fear. They fear not being believed. Many children actually wanted to tell an adult, but ultimately gave up. They feared being doubted, scolded, or even pushed toward deeper harm. When a child finally gathers the courage to say, "Someone did something bad to me," if the adult's first reaction is, "Don't make things up," or "Did you see wrong?" the child immediately withdraws. In their mind, this means, even the person I trust most doesn't believe me. This experience of being dismissed often leaves them feeling more hopeless than the abuse itself. The aftermath of sexual assault. In psychological counseling, the trauma of sexual assault is often referred to as the silent wound. For minors in particular, sexual assault not only violates physical boundaries, but also shatters their earliest trust in the world. Many children may appear to have resumed their daily lives, yet the inner fractures often persist for a long time. Physical pain is only the beginning. The most immediate impact of sexual assault is physical trauma, pain, infection, or other bodily harm. However, these injuries typically heal over time or with treatment. What is more concerning is the deep-seated fear and shame that often burrows into a child's memory. Many children develop aversion toward their own bodies afterward. They may refuse to be touched, hesitate to change clothes, avoid bathing, or even shy away from looking in the mirror. Once bodily boundaries are violated, a child's sense of safety shatters. Psychological trauma. Invisible, yet the most difficult to heal. Psychological impacts are often more hidden and enduring. Minors who experience sexual assault frequently exhibit the following psychological reactions: fear and anxiety, nightmares, fear of being alone, intense wariness toward certain people or environments, self-blame and shame, believing they are bad or did something wrong, or fearing discovery. depression and numbness, low mood, loss of interest in life, sometimes expressing pain through silence or withdrawal. Psychologically, these symptoms are classic manifestations of post-traumatic stress disorder, PTSD. Traumatic memories are often triggered unexpectedly, plunging children back into that terrifying experience. Collapse of trust, long-term impact on relationships. For growing children, interpersonal relationships are their primary way of understanding the world. Sexual abuse, especially when perpetrated by acquaintances, relatives, or teachers, often shatters their trust in people. Children may withdraw into isolation, refusing to depend on anyone, or exhibit aggressive behavior, masking helplessness with anger. In the long term, these experiences may shape their intimate relationships, perceptions of sexuality, and even family life. In therapy, many adult survivors recall childhood abuse and still declare, "I can never trust anyone again." This deep-seated distrust represents one of the most profound, lasting effects of trauma. Challenges in learning and social adaptation. Psychological trauma also manifests in academic performance and behavior. Children may become distracted, experience declining grades, or develop aversion towards school, or express emotions through truancy, lying, or violent acts. If trauma remains unrecognized and unaddressed over time, it may lead to chronic anxiety, depression, self-denial, and other psychological issues, potentially forming long-term patterns of self-defense and isolation. What parents and society can do. Psychological healing after sexual abuse is a process that requires safety, understanding, and support. All three are essential. 1. Acceptance and active listening. When a child is ready to speak, avoid questioning or blaming. Simply listen attentively. Let them know, it's not your fault. 2. Building a sense of security. After trauma, children most need to feel safe again. This includes a safe environment, secure relationships, and a stable daily routine. 3. Seek professional psychological support. After a traumatic event, seek psychological assessment and counseling for the child as soon as possible. Professional counseling can help the child understand the event, alleviate symptoms, and rebuild their sense of self. 4. Society's responsibility. Preventing secondary harm is equally important. Refrain from spreading rumors, judging, or blaming. This is the most basic respect for victims. Sexual abuse inflicts on minors not merely fleeting fear, but lasting damage to their sense of security, trust, and self-worth. Yet trauma does not mean a life frozen in time. With understanding, support, and professional treatment, children have the opportunity to rediscover their light. May every child grow up cherished and respected. May every adult become the light that protects them.